Good day. How are you? Amazing. Okay, so I just left my dogs outside. So if they come in all crazy, I'm sorry. But let me just tell you what just happened. This is so funny. As soon as this happened, I said, oh my gosh, I have to podcast about it. So I was at a store. I'm not going to say what store, but one of my favorite stores. And I was doing my shopping. And as you all know, I'm quite frugal. And and I say that in a polite way. And by the way, the sound you hear in the background is me putting away my groceries because I am a multitasker. So anywho, I'm buying all these groceries. I'm doing what I gotta do. And I get to the register and I see the lady eyeballing me hardcore. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. So I go to ring up ramen soup and cup of noodle because, as everybody knows, we like ramen and cup of noodle. And I don't, Fanny, the sodium, oh my goodness, this, that, and the third. I don't care. Once in a while, you need a little ramen soup, a little cup of noodle, once in a while. Not every day, once in a while. So anyway, so ramen soup and cup of noodle is super, super inexpensive. 25 cents for the ramen. The cup of noodles, 37 cents. But I'm already ringing up a bunch of groceries. And like I mentioned, I'm super savvy. So when I go to ring up the cup of noodle, it comes up restricted. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's because it's in the packaging. I need to take the packaging out. Whatever, because I bought the big box. I said, okay, let me just put it to the side. And I look at the register. The register says, keep scanning, put to side. So I keep scanning, I put to side. And I keep scanning my items. All of a sudden, this lady comes over and she's like, excuse me, are you trying to buy a restricted item? And I'm like, oh yeah, the cup of noodle, it came up restricted, no big deal. Listen, it happens. I'll wait for the end and I'll do the rest. She's like, but why didn't you call me as soon as it happened? And I was like, oh, well, I didn't want to bother you and I figured it wasn't a big deal. She's like, wait a second, but I see you already have ramen soup in your bag. And I was like, that's this ramen soup and that's cup of noodle, 2 different brand names. So she's like, what's going on here? And I'm like, what exactly do you mean? And she's like, you have a lot of items. You have a lot of bags. And it's only $60. I was like, yep, $60 so far. That's what I got in this purchase. She's like, but how do you have so many things? Are you scanning all your items? Dun, dun, dun. She thought I was stealing? Oh, whole snap. Whole snap. Whole snap. Hold your snap. Whole snap. Don't do it to me. So, of course, I take the high road. And I'm like, well, actually, the majority of my items are like 25 cents, 27 cents. So she's like, let me see. I'm like, ma'am, you can feel free to look through the register. It's self-scanned, so go ahead and check. So she's like, this is not right. Why are all these things 27 cents, 25 cents, 42 cents? So I'm like, that's how much they are. So then she's like, I have to call my manager. So she calls her manager and she's like, this lady's trying to buy a restricted item. And I believe it's a recall. Look. And the manager says, oh, it's because it's in the large packaging. You have to take the cup of noodle out and individually scan them. So I was like, okay. So then she's like, well, you're going to have to scan all 11. And I'm like, it's actually 12. No problem. So I start to scan it and they're 37 cents each. So she's like, well, these are all 37 cents. I'm like, that's right. So then she's like, what about all these things? I was like, ma'am, if you want to check my purchase, go ahead. So she goes, I see. You're just a really savvy shopper. I was like, yes, ma'am. So she's like, well, how did you know that these items were so cheap? I'm like, because I'm a mom of 3. I'm a frugal Fanny. That's what I do. I said, well, you know, I have to shop for a big family. Happy holidays. And so she was like, oh. I was like, well, do you need anything else from my life? And she was like, from your life? No, I don't. I was like, okay, take care. She's like, well, how do you know about these deals? I was like, ma'am, you work here. Yeah, you could look around your store. But I gotta go. So you have a nice day. Bye-bye. And so then I finished my transaction. A long list of stuff. A bunch of packages. And let me just tell you, tomato sauce was 42 cents. the can of some other different vegetables I bought were all 32 cents. Then I bought tomato sauce, the liquid version. That was 25 cents. And then I bought some snacks for the kids for school. Those were $1. And I think the most expensive thing I bought was the pound of Munster cheese, which is my favorite. And yeah, so I like to save. I'm a type of girl that likes to have it all. I will take peanut butter pockets and caviar spoonfuls any day because I am just a saver. And I thought it was so funny that she was suspicious of little old me. But on that note, I was like, God bless you, sprinkles in heaven for you. And then, and then I left. And the other thing is, like, sometimes you go to a store, and I know we are so name brand hungry, but listen, I can testify right here, right now. I have tried it. So, like, for example, I'm going to give you an example. Okay. You know the premium saltine crackers? They're like giant blue box of crackers. Can you envision it? Okay. So, I buy the generic version. It's the exact same cracker. I have tested it. It's the exact same cracker. But the premium, the one I love, and let me tell you I'll tell you what I use it for. But the one I love is $2.62. But the generic version is 94 cents. I don't know who comes up with these prices, but I will save the 68 cents and buy the generic. And that's what I always do. And then I'll always, like, I have my brand that I stick to. And sometimes I'll try it. If the generic brand is the same, I'm going for it. Now, there's certain things that I will not bend. So my peanut butter has to be Skippy's. My Cafe Bustelo coffee has to be Cafe Bustelo. My ketchup, come on. It has to be Heinz. It just has to be like that. There's certain things that I cannot. Did I mention my mayonnaise? I'm not a big mayonnaise person, but the mayonnaise I do buy has to be Hellman's. And my BOLOGNA, gotta say Oscar Mayer. It just does. There's certain things that you can taste. This has 50% plastic in it. You can just taste it's different. But then there's certain things that are just go for it. It's not gonna hurt you. Try it. Is it gonna really hurt you? Think about it. And then the other thing is I'm big on fresh produce. So you can buy like cilantro. I love cilantro. But you may buy cilantro and then it goes bad, right? And so you're afraid to buy it. Cilantro could be as cheap as 42 cents, 35 cents. But then you're like, but I want it already cut for me. So you spend $1.99 on a little plastic container of a little sprig of cilantro. What I do is I buy a big cilantro. I take half of the cilantro. I dry it out. Then I take the other half, just the stems. I blend it with the seasoning, whatever I'm going to cook it with that I know that's the flavor I want. And I make a sofrito or a recaito. And I freeze it. So therefore, it's not going to go bad. And then I keep a little bit of the leaves for freshness. So if in case I have a meal, it has to be fresh. And I keep them in a certain way in the refrigerator so I can go to them until I know they're about to expire. But I already have my dried cilantro. And you can ask my mother-in-law. She can tell you all about my cilantro. Mama, if you're listening, I love you. And so, I do that with my oregano, my bay leaves. And then I keep, the little glass container jars and I constantly refill them. So everything you see that's my dried herbs in my house, they were fresh that I bought and I want to save money. So it's cheaper to buy it fresh and dry it out yourself. Do you have the time? You might not. But is it worth the expense? I think it's worth the savings. And I have this rule that let's say I'm going to spend $1 on something and I find out it's 50 cents. So the 50 cents I saved goes into my secret savings bank in my little house. So I have like a little jar where I'll put change, and then I have a spot where, I had my dollars. And when I need it, I have it there because I always say, okay, I plan to spend this much. So now that I saved, all that savings is going there. It's just a way of managing and having, some type of, you always need a cushion. You just do. You need a cushion. Now, the other thing is there are certain things that I can't bend, like a Chanel bag. One day, I will have a quilt. I used to have this gorgeous Chanel bag, and I don't have it anymore. But one day, I will have a quilted Chanel, briefcase. That's my dream bag. That costs a lot of dollars. So we need to wait for that. That's going to be like a milestone goal purchase. But then there's certain things that I will have that don't really have a name brand. I'm not big like that. Like, I have a friend that she has, what is it? Lululemon something. I don't even know what that is, and forgive me. But I wear spandex pants, all different types of pants. But sometimes I find like really cool, comfortable fit from Shein. Let me tell you, if you don't know about Shein, Shein, they have everything. Like, you can find so much, and it's like $1, so it's really great. It's online. Some things may cost more, and then let's say you feel like you have a big cart, you could do Afterpay, which is you pay it in 4 payments if you want to do that. But I love to kind of save. So today I thought it was funny because if anybody knows me, I can never steal. I feel like I just can't do it. And then one time we went to the pet store and we were buying a whole bunch of things. And then we left, went home, and I was like, we didn't pay for this whistle. I drove all the way back to the pet store and I was like, you didn't charge me for this whistle. And she was like, oh, it's 89 cents. I was like, yep, please charge me, because I can't stand it. I don't like owing anything, and I don't like feeling like I took someone for granted. I just don't like those feelings. And I think that sometimes living with yourself and looking at yourself and having some self-reflection helps you own those feelings. I think you know what it's from. I'm just going to say what it's from. When I was a younger Fanny, I was with my mom, and we would go grocery shopping, and she liked to go to the fresh market. So there was a fresh market on 14th Street at the time, and the owner was Mr. Lee, and he was a really sweet guy, and he always, when I would leave, give me like a little 5-cent lollipop, and it was always different flavors, but he would hand it to me as I left. So one day, we were shopping in the store. My mom, she was getting all her fresh stuff. She would buy like coffee beans that then she would roast and then she would grind. Like, she was really into doing her own thing. And while we were there, I saw some peanuts, and it was a big barrel of peanuts. So I took a peanut, and as we were leaving, I cracked open the peanut and I ate it. And my mom was like, we didn't buy peanuts today. I was like, oh, it was right there. So she's like, 1 second, you took a peanut and you ate it? Fanny, you stole that peanut. I was like, oh my God, Mom, I am so sorry. I am so sorry I stole this peanut. So she was like, we have to go back. So we walked all the way back to the store, and we were almost home, and she had all her bags with her. And she goes to the counter and she puts the empty peanut shell on the counter. She's like, my daughter didn't pay for this. So, the owner wasn't there that day. It was some other lady, and she was like, oh, you stole this? I was like, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I don't know. I'll clean the shop. I'll work it off. And I was like 5 or 6. And she was like, that's going to be 3 cents. And I was like, 3 cents? She's like, it's 3 cents a peanut. It's $1 a pound. I was like, okay. So my mom gave the lady 3 cents, and we were out. And my mom was like, I don't know if I can ever show my face there. I can't believe you did that. Whatever. So then the next time we went, Mr. Lee was there. And he was like, oh, no lollipop for you today. And I was like, what? And he was like, oh, your mom told me that you stole a peanut from my store. So 1 day punishment. Until next time, then you get lollipop. I was like, oh my gosh. And he was like, let the punishment fit the crime. And I was like, okay. So then I always thought to myself, like, I would walk past Mr. Lee's store, like, super fast. And then as I became older, like an older kid where I was able to hang out, if I was in that area, I would, like, walk super fast past this store because I was ashamed over a peanut. But that was the point. My mother would say, we could be so poor. We could have literally nothing. And that is not the type of people we are. It will never be. My mother said, I don't care. And this is what she said. She goes, I don't care about drugs. I don't care about, what she said. I don't care about murders. We are not thieves. And I was like, Mom, I am not doing drugs and I'm not killing anyone anytime soon. But she was like, the value of being honest, having honesty is the most important value. Once your honesty becomes corrupt, you can never fix that. And so you can try to be a better person, but being a thief is also being dishonest. And so having those two qualities is horrible. So it's just like if somebody's dishonest to you one time, it's hard for them to recover because every time they tell you something like the boy that cried wolf or something of that nature, you're going to look to them like, man, I don't trust them. They're dishonest. And then you can never forgive them for that, even though you forgive them. So I was like, all right, good lesson. So like when I got older, and I had a job, my mom was like, how much was that shirt? Was it the cost of 2 peanuts? She never let it go. Like, she would always bring it up. And so to this day, like, let's say we're in the shop and my son's like, oh, I'm going to eat this grape. I'm like, don't you dare. And my husband, he's like, it's okay, we're buying the grapes. I'm like, nope, don't do it. And I always say, I have to wash that first. Yes, I'm going to wash it. But I say that because I don't want him to eat this grape without us paying for it. And I'm so crazy. And so, yes, I'm crazy. But with that said, today was kind of hilarious. There were some negative things that happened this morning. I had an appointment. It didn't work out, or something else happened. And I was feeling like I am a magnet right now for negative energy. Is my karma off? You know what I'm going to do today? This afternoon, I'm going to go buy a lotto ticket, balance back my karma. I got to fix this karma. I don't know. I got to pay it into the world. On that note, thank you so much for joining me on this crazy journey today of Fannytastic Life. Hey, talk to you soon. Bye now.